Well, welcome everyone to today's Fintech Hot Seat Head-to-Head. My name is Craig Jeffrey, and I'm the founder and managing partner of Strategic Treasure. Our topic for today is cash positioning, and we are so pleased that you could join us as we consider the challenges and relevant solutions in this space. Let's go over our format really quickly. Each company has a total of 11 minutes, 8 minutes to present, followed by 3 minutes of question and answers. For first-time attendees of our Fintech Hot Seat Head-to-Head, please note that we use an active timer to provide clear visibility of where we stand throughout each presentation. The color of the timer bar shifts a bit ahead of the time to transition to the Q&A section, so the presenter has a visual clue to gracefully close out that section. Next is audience questions. This is for you. If you'd like to ask a question to a particular presenter or about the topic in general, please put your questions in the chat box, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Time flies through these presentations, so type in your questions as soon as you can. Our participants for today and today's order will be Treasury 4. Cooper Strout will be presenting for Treasury 4. For Open Cash, Sharif El-Maghrabi will be presenting. With Kariba, Andrew Blair. And with TIS, Jacques Iana Mabena. If I said all those correctly, I will get extra points. Hopefully I was close. We have a few items related to today's presenters. You can see all the names up there presented in alphabetical order. Each of them will have time to present. We have the order as I described before. But let's get into what are some of the challenges of managing cash position. First, we have achieving full visibility across accounts and entities. This is the challenge for this comprehensive look across all banks, all accounts, all currencies and entities, and beyond just what's in the bank accounts. These are no longer nice to have. These are requirements. And this is complicated by different connection types, the level of information that's provided by different entities and banks, as well as different formats that can come in. If we look at automating daily cash positioning, we can see the fact that there can be manual processes, and that becomes a significant challenge of people being involved. It's hard to recruit staff to do those functions manually. Plus, it's 2025, so automating cash decision processes is integral to an organization. Integrating operational financing investment flows is clear on the mind of everyone who does cash positioning and cash forecasting. The need to have flows and information that exists outside of Treasury to be included in the zero-day cash position or zero-day forecast, as well as the forecast. This impacts planning, and the fact that these impact planning impact the success of the cash positioning endeavor. And then we look at how can systems support decision-making execution. Challenges relate to decision-making execution. How long can we borrow for? How long should we borrow for? How quickly are funds needed? Different rates can exist. And better information allows for faster and better decisions and leads to an improved financial impact for the organization. Incorrect or slower information has a cost. And then also in this area, we think about information to decide then requires action or execution. How can tools support better decisions while improving the execution of those decisions to move money, to borrow, or to invest? And then finally, scaling with organizational complexities. Many organizations are buying other companies, shifting, they're disinvesting. They need to sign up other accounts, other investment activity, and the environment shifts. The need to adapt and scale gracefully and rapidly is paramount, and inefficient and manual environments take time to adapt. Finance teams have limited resources and need tech help. So this is a list of some of the challenges in organizations' approach to managing the cash positioning activity. So with that, we're going to go into our presentation order. And so first up is Cooper Strout from Treasury 4. I'm going to pull down the screen, I'll stop sharing. He can pull his screen up, and welcome Cooper Strout from Treasury 4. You, as soon as you start sharing your screen and you start talking, I will begin the timer. Welcome to the hot seat head-to-head.
All right, cool. Well, hello, my name is Cooper Strout. I'm the data analyst here at Treasury 4, and my job is to build reports directly with customers. So I'll typically sit on meetings with them and we'll just build the reports together. One of the things I want to say is that the report that I'm going to show today is the results of many of those meetings, where we're just fast iteration, building together, and making sure that they're actually going to use it. So, two things I wanted to point out before I begin. About me, I'm a data analyst. I build treasury reports, make the data models, but I started my career as a treasury analyst about 8 years ago. And the one consistent problem that I always had as I was trying to do my job was getting access to data. I think everybody here probably has a very, very similar issue, or at least can relate to it in some manner. This process is always the same. You have data everywhere. Even a lot of the times, if you have a TMS, you still have to get the exports out of it. You have to build your reports. And it's just kind of overall, the process is a little, leaves a lot to be desired. And now at Treasury 4, our mission is to give our customers access to their data. And so that mission is almost personal for me, because I want to build the tool that I wish that I always had when I was working in Treasury. And I kind of distilled that down to 3 distinct pillars. First of all, it's access to data. I want the data to be really easy to get, easy to work with, but also if you just get a massive dump of data, it gets very intimidating. How do I, what do I do with it? It's 100 columns, what do I do? So the next part is report templates. And that's where this report that I'm going to show comes in. As I go through and build reports with customers, we're building up a library of templates. So this is one of those templates. And then lastly, making sure that the reporting tool is very, very easy to modify. So we'll give you the template on day 1. You'll see your data in there. It's organized through Entity 4, which is our legal entity management system. And we want to make sure that it's super, super easy for a customer success, or me to then modify it and continue going forward. So with that, I'm just going to jump right into the video here. So this is our cash position report. I'm just going to pause it. This is the cash position report. What you see here is just a distinct view of all of the legal entities. And you'll see at the top there, it says reporting currency. And I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the reporting currency is kind of in the top in the middle. And that's important because you're just seeing all of the legal entities for all currencies converted to reporting currency, even for the forecasted transactions. And it's rolled up into that view. So then here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand it. And I'm going to see it at the account level. And so what's notable about this is the yellow boxes there, those indicate that there's a forecasted transaction. And the cells that are not yellow, those are actually from the current day statement. So in a normal cash positioning process, it would be the first thing you do in the day. You open up your spreadsheet, you get your data, you start to work with it, and then you make your cash position, and then you execute later in the day. But the problem really becomes well, the day doesn't end at 8 in the morning. It's you're still going to get more statements, transactions are going to occur. So how do you really track your cash position on an intraday basis or current day basis? And so what's really, really cool is that starting balance is the closing ledger balance of the previous day. Here. That's the closing ledger balance of the previous day. And those transactions are of the current day. So it's really rolling forward. So then, as I'm going to click around, I'm going to adjust this manual transaction. So this is a forecasted transaction, but we have 2 separate pieces to this. We have forecasted transactions, which go back to the application, which would propagate throughout reporting. But these manual adjustments are very, very significant because in my experience with the TMS that we had at my previous role, I felt that making modifications to things was very, very intimidating. And you didn't know what dependencies that you were going to disrupt or break. And so what's really cool about that piece of manual adjustments is that that only lives in this report. So instead of having to go in and export the report to then make your minor adjustments to just do very back of the napkin scenario planning, you can actually do that all in the reporting tool, and you're not going to disrupt anything downstream. So here, then you can set target balances, and the target balances will impact the funding variance column, which is at the very, very bottom. And then that would be the actionable side of things, where you would then go through and create the payment in our payment for module to, either fund, invest, sweep. So that is pretty much it. I'm looking here at the different categorizations that we have using our rules engine and the transactions. So I think with that, I will open it up to some questions.
All right. So thanks for going through that, Cooper. And we have questions can come in through the chat box. Feel free to type them out. What I'd begin with on this, Cooper, is that you had mentioned that there might be some variances, like what the current day cash looks like is different from what you expected yesterday. How would your system handle adjusting for it? Like money came in early, money came in late. How would you support that?
I haven't gotten that exact question yet. We do have a field for expiry date on the projected and forecasted transactions. But I think the big point with reporting in Treasury 4 that I really want to emphasize is just how fast things iterate. The piece that I remember when I was as a Treasury analyst was I would put in a request and it would take X number of months for that feature or even to hear back, or I put it on a community board and try to get updates on it. The thing with reporting is that I want to drive with our customers, I think our customers can attest to this, is just how quickly when they put in a request for, hey, can the report do this? It's like a meeting the next day or the day of, or like we'll talk on Slack and make it happen. So
yeah,
the data's in the system, 100% you can make it work.
Great. Couple questions from the audience. You can drop down your screen sharing if you like. That just will bring us onto the screen more fully. There's some questions about cash flow categories or GL coding for transactions. Can the system help categorize those so different types of transactions flow into different codes? How does it do that?
Yes, 100%. That's the most granular detail, is the GL code.
Okay. And current day reporting, is that real time? Do you have access real time via APIs, or is it file based?
It is real time via APIs.
Okay. And then how does your system handle various file formats, naming conventions on the cash positioning side, right? There can be different formats with different data.
The one thing that I really, really love about my job is I don't ever have to deal with any of that, because our data engineers do all the pre-processing of data. So they are the ones who actually deal with all the file formatting. So when we say we're integrated with the bank with a particular file format, it all goes into a standard format. And the benefit from my end is I only have to worry about getting the data to look and getting the reports to work the way that the users actually need it to. So when it just goes into a standard format, and that's pretty much it.
Nice, thank you. So another question on, you had shown on your screen that items that were, actuals that had come in from the banking statement were white, and then the ones that were projections, I think, were yellow, or they were color coded.
Yeah.
As those become, as new information comes in during the day, let's say a wire transfer hits that you were expecting, does that then shift the color so you see it change throughout the day? Is that what you were describing?
Yeah, so it's really just to say, like, when there's a yellow amount, you would expand it and see, hey, do I need to remove that forecasted transaction? Does it reconcile to a reported transaction? So it's just a tool for you to get live data to do your cash positioning. So yeah, it's just a matter of, you still have to use it and dig in and understand, but the big rub of the issue is access to your data, and it's updating in a live manner. So real time.
Great. Last question from the audience is, can you tell us more about the rules engine? So maybe what else can the rules engine help the user with, or the company with?
Free cash flow. You could do the direct method of calculating free cash flow. I basically, in my role as I work directly with customers, it's basically two processes that I just keep doing and then redoing and then iterating and hammering on it is cash position, cash flow forecasting. The new one that's been coming up recently has been the free cash flow calculations. I would ultimately like to combine that all into like one more cohesive view, particularly on the forecasting side.
Excellent. Last 10 seconds, your final comment.
Final comment. Getting access to data is awesome when you have it, and it's remarkable what you can accomplish, and I'm very thrilled to say that the customers that I've worked with are very, very happy to be working with Treasury for.
Right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm going to stop the timer if you want to come off screen. Next up is Sharif from OpenCash. And so go ahead. You can feel free to come on screen, share your screen. It looks like it's coming up now, which is excellent. And yeah, I can see that you're on screen, which is perfect. So Sharif, welcome. And we give thanks to Treasury 4. And now we welcome OpenCash. And so, Sharif, when you begin, I'll start the timer, and feel free to start.
Sounds good. Thank you, Craig. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Sheriff, and I am happy to be here on behalf of OpenCash to discuss cash positioning, our philosophy on the topic, and how we have helped our customers with it until now. Briefly, OpenCash has just established some offices in Montreal, Canada. And it was created a few years ago by a company named CPI. CPI is a software development firm, and OpenCash was a commission from a European treasurer at the time. Now, since OpenCash was created, it was continuously improved, and it was implemented over 1,000 times everywhere around the world. Now, on the topic of cash positioning, we believe that a treasury tool should accomplish the following objectives. Now, everybody knows this, but I'm going to word it very practically here. Not many slides to go through. First, we have to determine our cash balances. We have to know what our liquidity positions are. We have to confirm through this information our adherence to the cash strategy for the company. And we have to be able to address any opportunity or shortfall that we have with our cash, and obviously forecast and reconcile transactions as they come in. Now, the obstacles that we've seen with our customers that we've helped resolve, multiple bank portals. I'm sure almost everyone on the call today, including myself in my past careers as well, multiple bank portals have been an extremely difficult thing to deal with, because the multiplicity of bank portals just multiplies the opportunity for fraud or other losses. Manual Excel sheets. Now, I'm a big believer in Excel. I'm sure everybody on our call as well is. However, Excel is not an efficient or appropriate tool to be doing any sort of cash positioning or advanced treasury operations. Manual data aggregation. A lot of people here have had advanced degrees and spend a lot of time in school only to become an aggregator into Excel sheets day in, day out. And all of that results in very time-consuming operations that are manual, that are very inefficient. So these are some of the obstacles that we've helped our customers resolve over time. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the user journey. What we've seen with our past customers is this is what the user journey looks like before we get involved. So you have an individual, sometimes a treasury team of analysts or directors that are in charge of collecting bank data, whether it be balances or operations, collecting data from repository, collecting market rates, collecting other data from dashboards, probably exporting from them into spreadsheets, putting all of this into other spreadsheets, and at the end of it, you get yet another Excel spreadsheet, usually named as something you see on screen here, something basically unpronounceable that you probably don't read the end of. Now, what we try to get our customers to, and we've succeeded at that many, many times over, is to get all of this information into OpenCash. So bank statements, market data, ERP information, external dashboard information, or stored historical trends feed into OpenCash, give you one clean custom dashboard, which also feeds into your forecasts. So that typically is what we do to help our customers resolve any sort of cash positioning challenges. What I'd like to do now is show you the actual software. Let's see, what that looks like in real life. So I'm going to switch over to Open Cash over here. So I'm going to log in. Typically, you can do this with your username and password, or you can do it with a single sign-on if your organization allows you to. The landing page is going to be my dashboard. It's a custom dashboard that I've established. I've selected a few things that I like to see when I log on, but you can have multiple forms of a dashboard depending on what you're trying to monitor exactly. What you can see here is that I have like this one dashboard here that just focuses on currency, but the one that I personally prefer is the one with a bit of everything in it. Now we're talking about cash positioning, so let's go ahead and take a look at our statements. So going into our statements, I'm going to go into my account statements, and what you can see here is all my account statements for every single one of my accounts that have come in today. Now, some of them are at zero because these are accounts that are either zeroed out or have typically no operations in them or are in a currency that we seldom use. Let's go up here. For example, I'm going to pick COM because I know there's a lot of operations in it typically. These are all the transactions that have occurred, for example, today. If I select any one of these transactions, I'm going to get the details of it as provided to me by the bank. As you can see, some of them have more information than others. Voila. Now, let's just say you're more of a visual type. You want to see this information into a pretty dashboard. Well, there's some of that as well. You just go into analysis. It's going to generate in real time every single time you select analysis, a new dashboard showing you your key pieces of information with regards to your statement. So typically, you're going to get your cash levels per bank, per currency, and per entity. As you can see here, these are my cash levels per bank. These are my currencies that I'm holding. And these are the entities' cash levels so far. Now, what I've stated before is that some of the information that is coming in will have to reconcile with some of my forecasts, whether automatically or manually. So let's take a look at how that happens here. Everything is very simple to navigate in Open Cash. There's no hidden menu or hidden configuration or anything like that. So everything is on the left. You can also make it disappear if you'd like to. It's up to you if you'd like to do that. In my daily treasury, I'm going to see all the operations that I go through mostly in a day. So let's start with our forecasts. Under forecasts, what you're going to see is everything that I have pending, basically, everything that I have active. Under my cash flow dashboards, what we're going to see, I'm going to select all my accounts very quickly here. And I'm going to see all the operations that have occurred as of today, and I can see my forecasts for the next few days. Now, just for the example here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select from the 18th to the 25th. There we go. I have all my operations. And let's just say, you know what, I want to split this down to the company that I know has a lot of, well, you know what? Let's go into my list of reports. This particular report, it's written in French in this particular case, but this particular report is going to split these accounts by entity. So now you get to see your totals by entity. Now what I can see here is that there's been a big swing in balance between, for example, for my COM company here, between the 22nd and the 23rd. If I select what happened on the 23rd, I see every single forecast that has automatically reconciled based on the rules that we have established. I can also see all the forecasts who have yet to reconcile, which are marked as safe when we created them, meaning that there's a high certainty that they're coming in, and one called estimate because we're not entirely sure of how that particular payment is going to come in. Now I'm running out of time. This has been very short, but I really wanted to show live what this looks like and how easy it is to navigate it. There's a bunch of things we can do here. Monitor our debt and investments, as well as look into our cash pooling. As I said earlier, you want to address opportunities and shortfalls. So debt, investments, and cash pooling is a key part of that.
Excellent. Thanks, Sheriff. And I'm going to pause the timer for a couple seconds just to correct my mispronunciation of your name. I guess I just made an error. But thank you.
You did fine. You did fine, Craig.
All right. And if you want to take the screen down, that would be great, so we can be
Sure.
live full screen. Yeah, a couple questions. One, you mentioned connecting external dashboards. Is that through screen scraping APIs? How are you connecting dashboards to Open Cash?
It's a good question. So it really depends on how you're set up for that dashboard. So how we can get the information out of that dashboard into this one, it depends how we can export it. So whether it be any sort of RPA, we can do API as well. This is the beauty about being a software development company rather than a treasury software company, is that we have the unlimited flexibility in how we connect everything else to get the data out. So as long as it's in dollars, we can get it out.
Okay, so robotic process automation, APIs, reports, or SFTP.
Exactly, through a repository as well, we can do that. Automated, I don't know what you would call it, fetching.
Yeah, get fetching. That's great. So you showed drill down details into the banking information.
Yeah.
The same capabilities exist with all the other data sources. Is there any limitations on that?
No, there is no limitation on that. As long as the information exists and has been pushed into Open Cache, you can drill down into it. You can see as far, as deep as the information is there. So if it exists, if it's there, we can go into it.
Perfect. Sheriff, on the if someone sees a variance analysis, they're doing the cash position, there's some difference from the prior day. Is there a way to associate notes with that, or to make changes or corrections for the future, whether it's a classification change that you need to make, cash positioning, or changing your forecast for the next day? How would that work?
Yes, and I ran out of time before I got a chance to actually click into it. But every every forecast that you saw in there, you could click into it and modify it. So you can modify the date, you can modify the amounts, you can modify how it's processed, you can modify the budget code associated. You can modify anything you want to it based on the changes that you're observing.
If you have certain accounts that are, let's say, restricted entities, or cash that can't be moved, are you able to group those so that those can be seen with everything else or separately from others on the decisioning standpoint?
So you're talking about like restrictions on, for example, sanctioned countries or sanctioned entities or something like that?
Yeah, or you're unable to concentrate that cash. You have to hold it separately. There could be various reasons for that. Yeah.
I mean, you can. During implementation, we go through this sort of stuff with our customers. So if they have to have any sort of, whether it be alerts or restrictions on what can be done, we can implement those. But since we have customers all around the world, I'm going to be honest with you, a customer in Azerbaijan does not have the same limitations, for example, than a customer in the United States. So.
Excellent. Sheriff, thank you so much. We really appreciate you and Open Cache. You can feel free to bring your stop screen sharing, and we'll welcome the next one. So thank you so much for that. I'll get set up for the next person. The next person coming up is Andrew Blair from Kariba. Welcome, Andrew. Glad you're here. Feel free to start sharing your screen, and we'll get you started in just a moment.
Look good, Craig. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. It looks good. I can see it. So as soon as you start talking, I'll start the timer. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Strategic Treasurer for having us and the rest of the participants as well as the attendees. My name is Andrew Blair. I lead the global pre-sales function here at Kariba. For those of you who don't know who Kariba is, we're a global liquidity platform technology provider. So I just have one slide to show before we kind of show a few elements of the product. And where I want to focus a little bit of time, because I feel like it's more difficult to show in the product, is around the connectivity. So there's been some good commentary around needing the data, how do you get the data, and the different challenges and complexities that go along with that. So I think this slide represents well the different optionalities that you have in terms of actually getting the data from your financial institutions. So again, from having local customers with one bank that's maybe a smaller bank in the U.S. versus the large national corporates that have banks all over the world, you need to have different optionality in terms of what that looks like. So traditionally, the tried and true methodology of the host-to-host or SFTP connection is still very, very viable, still very prevalent in the market to go out and get that data, whether it be the traditional BAI files, which are more now transitioning to the CAMT messages as the push to XML comes into fruition, could be leveraging the Swift network. So the point to kind of drive home here is that at Kyriba, we do give you the option as well as the hybrid approach to how you might need to pull that information in. So again, typically your main cash management banks is more economically viable to go get the data via host to host or via API. Again, if you have a more global footprint and coverage there, it's likely that there may be some Swift connectivity in place as well. And the benefit is you don't need to have your own relationship with Swift. We have a relationship with Swift that you can leverage as well. And then, of course, I think it would be remiss not to have a brief just discussion around APIs and the infrastructure that APIs are creating with more of a real-time, and I'll put real-time in quotation marks there, approach to getting the data. Again, whether that be the balance information, the transactional information associated to that. When we jump into the tool, one of the things that I hope to kind of showcase is that everything is managed in one place. So all of this information that I'm showing you is a bit technical, actually. And again, the benefit is that we would take on that ownership for you. So build the connections for you, maintain them, support them, and monitor them for you going forward. As a couple of the other panelists have said, any system is really null and void without the data. So getting this infrastructure and groundwork in place, I think, is very, very important. So let me just transition then into our solution here, and let me pop this open again. Okay, so this is into our into the Kyriba platform. To kind of spare all of the navigation and the nuance of a deep dive demonstration, I just placed everything onto our global head-to-head cash management dashboard here. So the idea with what we would try and provide, I think, is a walkthrough of how our customers would utilize the solution in representation of their daily challenges from a cash positioning perspective. Okay, so at the very top here, what we're starting with is essentially an extension of what I had just discovered. It's our bank connectivity kind of cockpit or centralization tool. So what this is telling me, and again, I'm looking at this by different financial institution. You can look at it by bank. But what I really want to know is, did we get everything into the system the way that we would expect it to? Okay, this is my first point of defense before I go into the actual, information on what's in the position, what's in the cash, etc. So as I had alluded to previously, this is obviously a reactive view of the information. Well, what Kyriba is doing is we're actually ensuring that all of the data is in the system, again, on your behalf, so that when you log into the tool, you'll have that full visibility as to whether or not there is an issue, with a particular bank, or there's been, something that's caused a chink in the armor there. But this is always a good audit as you're coming into the solution and kind of seeing where things sit from a daily basis. The next couple of visualizations that I think are very useful in the context of my, my cash positioning on a daily basis, if I just open this up more broadly, this is actually going to give me insight into any of those accounts that did not reconcile appropriately, right? So what this is showing me here is a list of several different accounts, and whether or not I have any transactional activity on hold. So that would be an unreconciled transaction. For whatever reason, I expected a wire to come in today. It didn't come in. Again, the solution has capabilities to say, what do you want to do with that? Do you want to move it forward to tomorrow? Do you want to keep it there because it really, should have been there and stayed reconciled? But it's, again, an additional checkpoint as you're coming into the tool to understand if there's anything out of balance. What I'm looking for, which is what I'm seeing for the rest of the accounts here, is that everything is actually cleared out. Again, as I go into making the decisioning on, what's in the account, where is the excess cash sitting from a financial instrument standpoint, I want to know that if there's anything operational I need to take care of, I can get that visualized up front. The next report here, I think, is one that's quite useful. A lot of our customers will use just like a simple account overdraft report. Now, these reports can be generated. Obviously, these are in negative balance, but you can have controls that say, hey, if it's going to be negative, right, I want an alert associated to that as well. So all of these reports, as I mentioned before, are configurable, is intended just to be a snapshot of, again, what your cash positioning or cash management exercise is going to look like as soon as you log into the application. So this is a nice little alert that will kind of give me that information right on the onset here as well. As I open up the daily balance report, so again, this is obviously getting into a little bit more detail. I'm still looking at balances. I'm grouping this by entity. You have the ability to group them by bank, by currency, by country, however it is that you ultimately want to associate that data to. And this is giving me insight into where, again, there might be a shortfall. So where I might have to make a decision to either move money intercompany, which entities are holding too much cash for what they ultimately need from a cash management standpoint. And then the very last two gives me insight again into if there really is on an actual to forecast variance, what is the delta there? You have the ability to drill down into this, as well as the capital markets infrastructure that you set up. So again, we can house your facilities, your debt instruments, any investment activities. So when I'm looking across what my liquidity expectation is over a period of time, I can see what vehicle I have to actually pull on that. Can I draw? What's the availability and the capacity on the different, in this case, credit facilities that I have globally? So I think, Craig, that was my time. I'll pause for any questions that have come up here.
Perfect. Thanks for self-governing. That's very helpful. So if you want to pop the screen down, that would be great. I'll start off with the question on variance analysis. You showed us how you could see it, and you mentioned adjusting for today to move it tomorrow. How can that be shared with the team or notes taken on it? And is there an ability to help feed that into, let's say, fixes for the future if there's just something wrong with it?
Yeah, so I think there's two parts of it. One is if you're making a comment to it, or you want to have some sort of like verbiage associated to what that variance is, there are fields. There's a commentary field on a cash flow itself. You have the ability to make an edit associated to that and then share that with a broader group. The changes associated to it. So you're saying, hey, this actually shouldn't have been reconciled. There was an error associated to why the system looked at it that way. That could be, we may have to go in and look at the actual matching rules or the tagging rules that were associated to that if there were, anything that was picking that up correctly there. So those are kind of the two ways I would think about that.
Right, Andrew. So another question about for views and action. If you have, let's say, restricted cash, regular cash, or cash that's pooled by entity or by currency, or you're trying to match what the bank is doing, what are the capabilities and/or any limitations on views and action of that for decision?
Yeah, usually what I've seen on that, if we focus on the restricted or non-restricted conversation, because I think that's come up a couple times. The best way or the easiest way I've seen our customers do that is there's different either categories at an account group, or a transactional level. So it is a bit of a, we'd have a discussion with a customer in terms of like, what do you constitute as restricted cash? How do you want us to visualize it? Is it at an account level? Is it at an entity level? Or is it at a cash flow level where we could use a specific kind of tagging infrastructure to do that? At the end of the day, the system is open to those types of configurabilities that just essentially pull back from a reporting standpoint.
Right. The last question has to do with the checking the data quality. You gave an example of completeness. How can your system support completeness, checking for duplicates, or finding data that's coming in outside of sort of bands of reasonability?
Yeah. So again, I'll try to be concise with the answer. I think of this in two different ways again. So there's one, like there's a data integrity check. Is a statement right? Does it complete? Do the control totals match what's in the file? Is there any duplicates? That's done at a system level. The system is inherently doing that. There's other ways to do the duplicate checking around this is what we expected. And that's at the corporate level where they're actually putting those parameters in to define what's reasonable and what's not. Sorry, I went a little bit over on that.
That's all right. I had a long wind up on the question, but thank you, Andrew and Kariba for sharing that. And we'll move to our next panelist, and I will welcome Jacques from TIS. Jacques, you feel free to come on the screen and share your file so that we can see that when you get a chance.
So also good day from my side, Jacques here. I'm actually in Stuttgart in Germany currently, so very happy to join you. And talking about TIS, Treasury Intelligence Solutions, we are leader in payments and cash flow forecasting because we are specialized for these two products. You can see that we here are not providing a full-blown TMS capabilities, but we basically would like to stress on where we are strong at. Cash visibility is one part of that, and that's what I would like to talk about today. So generally, the problem with visibility is not that you have already the reporting. It's always how you get the data in at the first place. And when it comes to transactions, you have different challenges, especially if you're a global operating corporate. Even all over the place in the US already, you have already this big challenge if you do payments within the US only. So why did you have these complexities? Actually, due to the sources of data that you need to get, but also the format that are related to those data. Next to, you have regulatory challenges, and on top of that, you have all over the place changes in kind of formats like in Swift modes. So you have to handle all these changes. At the same time, you want to have your visibility to make sure that you can actually steer your cash position. And that is exactly what we try to do. One solution here next to the standard connectivity options and format available is to provide a translation service. What does that mean? For example, you have today in Swift, you have the ISO 222 coming in where you will not be receiving empty message in the future, or you have your backend system consuming MT, and then they cannot consume it tomorrow. So you have a new acquisition, and you don't know if you can handle the format that the bank sent to you. So what we try to ascertain is that you don't have to change your word. We just translate it for you to make sure you get already the right data. How can we do that? It's actually because we have the capability. We are already here in the market for over 13 years, and we focus only on that. And therefore, we have a bunch of formats, a bunch of connectivity options, a bunch of translation services that we can offer to you guys. And that's for your global payment all over the place in the world. We have just few limitations in some countries you can see in gray, but it's clearly that most of the country, over 98% are actually saved by TIS. So going back on the sources, you want to have all the data and you want to have the whole automated. So what we do in one platform is to ascertain that all your data from your backend system, being ERP system or TMS, whatsoever, are actually collected and centralized into the TIS platform, where you can globally, through a collaborative environment, assess those data and confirm those data. And that is actually what is pretty important. Next to that, you can use data that come from the accounting department or from the controlling department to translate your P&L to cash, for example. So you can use, next to the banking data, existing forecasting data to have here a better forecasting. So what do we show? Of course, we show the granularity of the data. So if you got a statement into TIS, we will show you the details of the statement. At the same time, if you have a forecasting data from your ERP system, we will also show you what is expected in the payment behavior. You know, you have an invoice from a customer. The customer used to pay every 90 days. In average, we can actually use that information, that payment behavior, to forecast actually what will be expected. But most important here is to see all what you get into your wallet in cash. That means liquidity, for example, investment line, credit line, or other cash available next to the one coming from the, of course, from the bank statement. Good thing is also, that was a question before, did you see the restricted cash, for example? That is pretty important because if you are doing business in a very complicated country, or even in the US, because you have a position that you cannot withdraw the cash now, it's not as liquid as you believe, it's important for you to have this visibility to ascertain you can do your, for example, acquisition, and you really have the cash available at times, right? So we try in our reporting to show you exactly those positions as they comes in your investment and your banking reporting. So that also is pretty clear for us. That is important for you to see. So the granularity of the breakdown is also available for all who actually would like to get that granularity independent of the corporate layer that they have. So if you are holding or you have a daughter company, we provide you all the insights clearly. So why are we certain that we can help you? We can help you because we have global US, Europeans in the APAC regions or in the Americas, company who actually use us and save money. So we are pretty sure that we can also actually address your own challenges and your own problem. And you can see by the example of Unilever here, I trust everybody knows Unilever. They have been able to save a lot of cash, a lot of money because using our capability. That's something we are very proud of. And we hope we can also support you in the future. So happy to answer to your question.
Great, thank you. Yeah, feel free to take down your slide and we can jump into the questions. Thank you for heading off the restricted cash question. I guess I was getting predictable there. On the ability to do translation services in and out, what are some of the systems that you send data out to? ERPs, reconciliation platforms, data lakes, what else do you send data out to and translate for?
So actually, when we receive the statement from the bank, for example, right, at this layer, we translate that in different formats. It depends what your ERP system consumes. So if it is a ISO and you want to consume an empty message, we translate it in the empty, and we will use API to push the data you are expecting. If it's the other way around, we will also do that. If you have a standard format, right, that is not an empty, we can also develop that for you to consume. And we actually, our aim is to not send that into a share, but really to integrate that into your ERP system. In case you have a shared drive where you want us to push the data, of course, we can do that also. That's no big deal.
I think one of your charts showed a whole bunch of SFTP connections. Can you connect to Swift and APIs and other connections?
Yeah, all of them. Like I showed in the slides before, we connect to host to host, all the connectivity options available. We use them for our customer.
So different users may need to see action. So management by objective. Here's our balances. Here's other activity. I think you showed some of that. But there's also other functions that people need to see exceptions. Files didn't come in, there's an error, you're out of a band or some tolerance. How does your system support that?
So the fact that we also support intraday statement is very, very important for us to ascertain that the file arrives and is consumed. So that means if there is a non-fit, right, we have a reporting that actually enables you to see what has not been reconciled during the day.
Since you handle payments in our payment hub as well as cash positioning, do you integrate with other cash providers, like, let's say, any of the three that are on here? Is that something that you can interoperate with other treasury systems, ERPs?
Exactly. So like I said before, we are not a TMS, right? That means there are some capability that the TMS in investment decision will be doing or factoring this kind of topic. And therefore, the strength that we have is to integrate to all of them. Most of our customer, and we are talking about the big one having here a TMS, they usually have, the one here today, but others, and we integrate to that, to them to collect those information and to push also. And what is important is that we can also position. So when we have in the payment platform, a payment that will be executed during the day, we can position that into the TMS.
Okay. Last question, I'll try to be brief with it, is data quality. Data coming in, can you ensure it's complete? Check for duplicates or if it falls outside of a band.
Yeah, that is a standard check that we do. We have different check level that we do, and duplication is one of them, but also in the structure of the data, because if there's a miss it in the structure, it's important also to inform. So we have a bunch of check that we do.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jacques. I can't get a question off in 10 seconds. So thank you so much for TIS for participating today. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you. And I want to thank each of our, stop the timer. And I want to thank everybody for your attention. There are a number of things to cover at this point. I'm going to share the screen and we'll start with, what are you thinking about from a poll standpoint? I'd like to hear your questions. We have a question coming up. Everybody who's on, please feel free to answer this. How do you primarily handle the daily cash positioning? Manually in spreadsheets, partially automated using internal tools, fully automated through a TMS or Fintech solution, outsourced to a banking partner, we don't have a formal process yet, or other, or unsure. So go ahead and select those. We are very interested in seeing how that works. All right, so about 40% in spreadsheets, partially automated, 22%. A lot of room for people to use technology. Very, very good. So let me do our recap. We have a number of things that we covered and we learned and we saw. I do want to thank Kyriba, Open Cash, TIS, and Treasury 4. Well done. I think all of you are the best on time that we've ever had. Really appreciate that. So we looked at challenges of achieving full visibility across accounts and entities, automating daily cash decisioning, integrating operational financing investment flows, supporting decision-making execution, and scaling with organizational complexity. What did we see to address these types of challenges? And you can certainly go to the replay, but I was trying to take notes rapidly. We saw managing data and leveraging this data for analysis and actions, data from statements, market data, providers, internal systems, even external dashboards. The ability to classify this data clearly and quickly was demonstrated. How do you address the challenges of normalizing data, making sure it's corrected, complete, duplicates are checked? We had some particular questions in the Q&A section where we had those answered. The flexibility of dashboards or cockpits, which not only let you view activity, but make decisions as well as execute upon those decisions were shown. We looked at format supports, connections like SFTP, Swift APIs, but also even heard about robotic process automation. The ability to handle the cash proof, the daily cash position. There's cash proof that occurs first thing in the morning to see what happened to the bank accounts overnight, where the difference is, how do I adjust those? We heard and saw how that shows up, how people can decision it, how they can share the information. And then we also looked about the visibility of variant support, structuring cash by various pools or restricted cash structures. So we saw so much of that. So again, I want to thank Cooper Strout from Treasury 4, Sheriff from Open Cash, Andrew from Kyriba, and Jacques from TIS. Well done. Thank you so much. Brian has a few quick announcements at the end here while we invite you to the next head-to-head hot seat, Fintech hot seat, that you can register. That should show up in the chat box. And I guess when I said Brian is going to say it, you don't know who Brian is. I'm just in my regular webinar outfit. I'm the last one who's going to speak. It's in the chat box. He's posting it there. So register for the next head-to-head. Would love for you to do that. Really looking to see more people on this. And I would say for everybody who's looking at these products, contact the vendors directly. Ask them for a more complete demo. What you saw was 8 minutes of presenting, 3 minutes of questioning, a total of 11 minutes. It sure felt like a sprint, but it quickly gets us through information, allows you to deep dive into how they may address your needs more clearly and more specifically. So please feel free to reach out to them. We thank you for your attendance at this, your participation, and thanks for the questions. It is so much more helpful when everyone types in questions and I don't have to make them all up. So thank you for that. And again, thank you, Jacques, Sharif, Cooper, Andrew, and everyone who's running the timers and everything else behind the scenes. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. And we wish you a great rest of the day. And thanks again. See you at the next Fintech Hot Seat Head-to-Head.